It is amazing when you have an extra special human function, which I say I make a box, I like snap a photo and then I put it up. You have extra special words, you have extra special clientele, you have extra special responsibility within multiple platforms and worlds. You've been known throughout space and time to be the electronic. The L. She is the L. The parents, they are, their breeding stock begins with L. She is the L she's the breath of fresh air that comes after the L. She is the elf. She's the number 3 that comes after the L as a female, in a special paired bond with the other extra special male that she is born for, as the gods, as the Zeus and the Xena, from Mount Olympus. Doesn't matter if Mount Olympus is not placed in the map in Greece. It travels. It moves. At one point we said, the floppy air, do bunnies and rabbits, I don't know which word we gave you to use, do their ears stand up or do they flop over? Because there's 2 different kinds of bunnies, without having to get into colors. Okay? This 2020 that I woke up to, all throughout space and time, from petroglyph in ancient to ancient, now modern man. This is now modern man. I'm ancient in modern man, designed this to purposely hurt me. In petroglyph, Petroglyph, we warned about this modern man. Every turn, every generation, I said, it's getting closer, and you did not accomplish the tasks that we set before you. You did not write the laws properly. You did not promote to the children of Earth that the immortals are still here amongst you. We're still watching over. We are still star beings. You have let this, whatever you're into, totally consume you, and it is going to cause you a problem, and your children and your children's children a problem in the future, because multiple wars will break out over the inability of the parents and the grandparents who didn't keep up their responsibility with the starship, the guardianship, and the woman and the man. But sometimes the woman comes alone, which she's not supposed to, but that is part of the wars breaking out. She always comes from a rigid ship. RIDIGSHIP. It's always a rigid ship. You humans have floppy wing like birds. That's it. You aren't even supposed to get there. I come from... Right. Then we had a mockery, but that is for some Zachariah account of why I allowed Russia to have a sports utility vehicle with a semi-floppy appearance, but more of a rigid wing. Was I in it? No. I asked them to do a scope for me mission. But again, I don't have to explain that to Mickey Sticker Club outside of the Top Gun, top leadership, since all of the children elsewhere are forsaking their responsibilities. And I have to document this somehow on my way in. My father, apparently when he woke up and they were drafting in America for the Vietnam, he said he had, I always say it's a 4H. He told me, no, it's called a 4F. And I go, oh, 4F? I was like, I didn't realize. Okay, so 4F. And then Anthony asks me why he got this 4F. And I'm like, oh, I thought it was a 4H. I said, but what happens is his ribs are concave. They go inward into a hole in the center of his chest. It puts pressure on his pericardial ability to expand and contract. I said, besides the fact he also has flat feet. So, whatever. And my father's like, actually, he's like, what we told the army people when he says my mother, meaning Angelina, stood up for him and said, no, he said he had rheumatic fever, RHETIMIC fever, I think. And his mother said that when he was little in Italy, but they didn't know, now that they were in America, how to get the records, since the doctor was over 100 years old or whatever, or that's what my dad said. I'm like, whatever, the details, whatever. They had no way of getting, for the army people, the records of Luigino's rheumatic fever event when he was little. So he didn't have to serve in the Vietnam War. He stayed behind, trying to figure out a place in the world for himself. He said he had a lot of conservative people contact him. He never made any money, though, or any relationships worth anything. Nothing was fruitful, especially not for his daughter. Nothing worked out. And I look around. We also had this conversation at dinner. I said, let me tell you something. You know, when I was going, after I had Daniel, first I had Benjamin, then I had Daniel. I was working full-time at Merrill Lynch for more money than when I had to go back in 2009 back to the bank to try to get the same job. And the $72,000 a year job that I had in 1998 all of a sudden dropped down to $38,000 a year. But all of the expenses on the inflation of like a house, a car, all this stuff went so up so dramatically. It no longer made sense. I mean, it was hard back at $72,000 a year, and then it went down. But after I had Daniel, I went back to school for medical school for a nursing degree. While I was in the 2-year program for nursing, they said that there was a gigantic nursing shortage in the hospitals. So what they were doing is they were reaching out to all of the third world nations, Haiti, Dominican Republic, West Indies, all the places that they're not allowed to go to in order to hire in the United States. But they reached out to them who have less schooling and less proper training for cleanliness and whatnot, hired them in some shortage whatever, in some bullshit move. So they were hiring in mass quantities. Now, those nurses they had less education, less stringent licensing laws, and it was taking me longer. They filled their quota that they were looking to hire. They had seniority over myself. I never made it to the end of nursing school because I couldn't afford to carry a job, and I was pregnant all throughout school. I had Daniel on a Friday night. I went back to school on Monday, so I had a 2-day reprieve of after childbirth before I had to go back and finish out the semester, going between work, hospital, school, and back to my son to try to raise Benjamin and whatnot, and try to live in a basement to try to have enough money to put food on the table. So that's how my life worked out. So living in a basement for 3/4 of my life, more dungeon like equations, and so but these West Indies, Haitian, Dominican women that they hired from the islands they were told they were not allowed to do it, but they did it anyway. They are now in the year 2009 when I was try to go to the bank for a salary position, like guaranteed income that you can rely on, one of those, right? They were making about $77 an hour with only working 3 days a week, 4 days off, which sounds wonderful. So why can't I have the same job? I'm not able to afford to take care of myself, go to school, get that kind of job. Nobody subsidizes anything for me. But yet these pieces of shit came over, the foreigners they hired. They gave them housing subsidies, food, clothing. They also gave them the $77 an hour job, plus housing. why is it that the natural-born citizen is not afforded these things as white from 1978 to 2020, but yet the foreign people that are not even nationals to the United States were brought over in busload to fill all area hospitals throughout the entire 50 states of America, between Atlantic coast and Pacific coast, which were specifically told that they were never allowed to hire and replant outsiders inside the Americas ever again after the whole slavery bullshit that we all documented when we were scoping out future. So why are these women getting $77 an hour and more based on how many extra days they pick up, and I'm not afforded the same job? There's also non-natural-born citizens within my lifetime that have gotten $100 to $300 an hour jobs. Why is it that I'm not able to get those jobs? I'm just curious. I've tried to go for the education. I've tried to do a lot of things. I can't afford to go from penniless. They won't. I've applied for housing, food, all sorts of stuff. They deny me. I'm assuming it's because I'm white, but I still try anyway. And then I try to go for the jobs, which I don't get. I'm assuming it's because I'm white. But you keep saying there's this white privilege. I'm just asking, what generation was that? Because I woke up and there was no white privilege at all. My father didn't enjoy any white privilege, neither did my grandfather. Not in Europe, not here. Neither did my aunts, now the DeFilippos and the Deans. They didn't enjoy white privilege. So, but they had better socioeconomics where they were working for minimum wage, but minimum wage back then, the car was only $3,000, and you didn't even really have to have one in order to get work and be able to have a nice life. And the apartments and living was a lot cheaper. In my lifetime, the house, the apartments that my parents have, it's like $2,500 a month unfurnished. Then you have to pay for electric, heat, which is like another $600-700 a month. Then you have to pay for furniture. Then you have to pay for food. Then you have to pay for car, insurance, and all these things just to get back and forth to work, or a train ticket. Train tickets just as much as a car lease payment plus insurance. So for the subway and whatnot. So tell me again, what are you doing with the white children that were natural-born citizens to take care of them in this America between 1978 and 2020 for a goddess who is born and stuck? She doesn't know where to go for help, for money, for subsidies, for education, for... You know, I don't mind working. I've just been left on the Fidelis without a roadmap to where I'm needed and how I could be most useful. I've been left to figure it out on my own while you hire everybody else's children from around the world that are not allowed to be in the United States of America, being that my grandfathers and Anthony's grandfathers and Jason's grandfathers have fought all throughout Europe and Asiatic countries and whatnot. And so, therefore, it was in the deed that you were not allowed to move your children in and take over any economy or any of that. You realize that word economy, you know where it comes from, right? It's from the scope coming on in. It's that whole merchandise thing. Once you give the shitbag white Americans their own, and it goes the same thing for Russian and all the way through the Western white kingdom. Once you give them all of this ability to do their own banking and investments, it really splits the white kingdom up terribly so that none of them even agree. And then they get confused by the white meat that is not like themselves. It's not rooster, it's not chicken. It's a different kind of disgusting pig that then splits the white kingdom even further. And then the dark-skinned children and the caramel children get involved and start making landfall and then getting loud and telling the White Kingdom children that they're wrong, they have to be quiet, and they're entitled to be here. There's documents on file with the U.S. government, the U.S. Navy, and the Armed Forces and National Guard that say all area colored, anything, is safe as long as it's below the pretend circle at the diameter, which you call the equator. Below it, you're safe. You come north, and there is no guarantee for your safety, ever.